Hey guys, this is Stu from Stuart Scale Models, and this is my final reveal for Steve Mottram's M Group build, my entry into it, which is the M4A3 105mm howitzer Sherman from Tamiya. In fact, both kits are from Tamiya, including the Kugelwagen. The figures are a mixture of the figures from the kit itself, that's the Sherman, and also Dragon's US 82nd Airborne Division Battle of the Bulge December 1944 set. The actual base is from Fog Models, which is Fields of Glory, based out in Camberley, Surrey. Yeah, I'm very pleased at the way this kit is, this project has actually turned out. Let me just shift that up a little bit, because we're getting a lot at the bottom but not the top. Yeah, it basically started back in late October, which I think was when I started on this group build, with the Sherman, which actually fell together beautifully, as is normally the case with Tamiya kits. Once that was done, the tracks themselves I was going to use aftermarket Bronco tracks, but believe it or not, for a change, the tracks on this particular Tamiya kit went on like a dream, and it was only when I was sort of fitting them when the post-build video, and I thought, do you know what, I'm going to use them, so I did. And for a change, they're quite easy to paint and weather, which is most unusual for Tamiya, so that's what I decided to go with. But generally, after I'd done the actual basic build of the kit, I added Value Gear's stowage set on the back and used very fine, I don't know if you can see it, light fuse wire for the tie downs on the tarpaulins, and the stowage itself. Boy, did that hurt my eyes. I can tell you, but I thought, well, I'm going to go to town on the detail on this. Oh, sorry, let's move that around a bit more. So I thought, what the hell, you know, and as you can see here, the only part the Value Gear kit is these two tarpaulins on the front here, which apparently I was pointed out shouldn't have been there because it blocked the driver's position, but it is what it is, guys, you know, hey. Just try to bulk it up a bit more to add some more interest to the kit itself. And it was just basically putting down the Styrolres to prime it, as well as Styrolres in the tracks, which went down beautifully. And then putting on the base coat, which was Tamiya's olive drab, which was a nice tone, actually, believe it or not. It was actually correct tone for the Sherman. And then once that was done, it was basically clear coating the whole kit, adding the decals, which actually went down really well, which is a change for Tamiya. I think it may have been the technique I used, because I used micro set, but I didn't actually use the sole, so I might use that in future. Although Tamiya now do a set bottle of Mark fit, which actually settles your decals down better. So I may well try that out on my next build, which is going to be the leopard build. So there you go. Once that was done, I clear coated it to seal in the decals, and then basically put on the UMP white winter whitewash, which I tried for the first time, and it went down beautifully. And then once that was dry, I just went over with a few cotton wool pods just to give it that whitewashed look. Once that was done, I clear coated it again to seal that in, and put down the dark dirt wash just to pop out the detail. And then added AK's rust effects, weathering effects onto the vehicle, painted all the tools in, as well as the stowage, and then obviously put the dark dirt wash down, as I said, and then put in the rust effects, as you can see around the various parts of the turret and on the top here, okay, and added MIG's oil effects on some of the points where the fuel was loaded, so to give it that sort of weathered look, as it were, battle weary. And then went over it with a fine 2B pencil on some of the edges just to give it that worn effect, and then added the pastels to the end of the barrel here, which you can see, as well as underneath at the rear where the actual exhaust manifold comes out. So that went down well, and then obviously added all the mud effects with AK's wash, and then basically put MIG pigments over it to give that muddy effect, which went down very well. Did the same effect with the tracks as well. Put them all on, and then added Woodland Scenics is it flex paste, which is for thick snow along the edges of some of the gear here, where you can see with the tracks as though it actually been going through the Ardennes, and obviously through the latter parts it which was quite thick with snow. So that was that. And it was the same with the actual Kugelwagen as well. That was a very easy build to put together, although I did have a nightmare with these wing mirrors that kept falling off countless occasions when I accidentally touched them. So when you do build that kit, be careful of that, because they're quite delicate, guys, okay? And I did order a roof set, because obviously I was depicting a winter scene where well, obviously you're not going to drive around with an open roof, you know, it'd be bloody freezing for God's sake. So I ordered in a set from Poland, which unfortunately was the wrong one packaged inside it for US Woolies Jeep, inside one which was indicated for the Kugelwagen. So I ended up buying one from DM Models along with the wheels. And the detail on them is beautiful, guys, so check that out. Obviously it was the same process as it was with the Sherman. When it came to weathering it, it was basically a case of weathering the wheels as though they'd gone through thick snow or been laying around for a while. That was again the flex paste from Woodland Scenics, and then sprinkled it with the snow on the top, with Woodland Scenic snow. And I have to say, when this fitted down, because it's resin, it fitted beautifully. There was no gaps or anything on it with the roof. So I'd definitely invest in some of that if you're going to do one with a roof. Obviously I had to mask off the windscreen when I did the sort of normal coats of paint before I weathered it, etc. And oh, that hurt my eyes. I can tell you. And trying to get it off, yeah, that was a very delicate task, but I did it. So there you go. And again with the decals, they went down very well. I didn't have any filming on them. I used the same process as I did on the Sherman. So there you go. She came up like a shiny penny. And then obviously it was a case before I'd even mounted these on there of actually doing the base. Now the base itself, as I said, was from Fog Models. Lovely sculpts on them. They're made of plaster. Again, I Steiner-esed the whole thing. Oops, I just dropped something. And obviously fixed the wall so that I had to trim the wall, because the wall actually was jutting out of the side, so I had to trim that to size, and I used a razor saw for that. And then added it to the sides and glued it with Deluxe's Super Phatic glue, and it was rigid within, I'd say, about a minute and a half. So it went together very well on the plaster, and obviously you had the resin roof, which again I used the same glue. Then it was a case of putting the Steiner-res down just to give it that thick primer, as it were, the base primer, to give it nice shadow effects for when I put the base coat down, and went across that with on the wall with Tamiya's I think it was red brown. And that came out nice. And then once that was done, I masked off the wall and the roof here, and then masked off the road and basically put down a light grey on the actual pavement, and then masked that off, and then did the road with a dark grey. And then it was a case of clear coating the whole base. Once that was dried, I basically put down the dark dirt wash on the road, and my God, did that take long to do. And the pavement, which really brought the detail out like a shiny penny. And with the wall, I used a mixture of UMP's light earth wash and concrete. just to bring out the cement on the brick wall itself, so that came up really well. And then it was dark dirt wash on the roof of the actual wall, and that was that done, and then sealed it all in with a clear coat, and then obviously it went to the weathering effects with the snow. Now this was my first attempt. I basically went over that with the glue, and then basically sprinkled it on, rubbed it off very gently so you had it in between the cobbles, as it were, to give it that really authentic effect, as though there's been a blizzard hitting the town. Now with the actual pavement, well, I'll go into that in a minute. The first thing I did was put the flex paste on the roof of the actual wall, and then once that was dry, I just sprinkled the Woodland Scenic snow on it to give it the texture of snow. And then on the bottom of the base I added flex paste again, Woodland Scenic flex paste, a light coating of that, and then put the Woodland Scenic snow on it. And now I did think to myself, you're going to leave it at that. And I had a word, who got some advice from my good buddy Mike Cohen, who basically said you really need to put something on the wall just to give it that effect, as though there'd been a blizzard, you know, a drift. So he suggested I use talcum powder, and that's just basically what I did. And I just patted it in very gently and just basically blended it in, and it looked brilliant. It really does. It gives you that cold effect, as it were. So that's what I did with that. And then obviously the next process was to dull coat the vehicles, which I did, unmask them, put the weathering on, and then I basically fixed the Sherman to the base first off with some super glue, and then obviously again with the Kugelwagen I set it down on the base. Now I did press down a little bit too hard, and on this side the wheel is slightly askew like that. So I'll explain how I've actually remedied that and why I've brought it into the story once I've finished going through what I've done on here. So as I say, again with the Kugelwagen I just sprinkled it on with some snow on the wheel hubs and basically on the bonnet, etc., as they've been sitting there a while. And obviously you got a little bit on the windscreen. So there you go. And that was that done, and then basically set to the base. Then I went on to the figures. All of those went together beautifully, especially the dragon set, which are beautifully detailed. And this little guy, when he comes around, because I needed to have a captured German in it, you couldn't not have a German in it. And he's actually an injured German as well, because he's holding his arm, as you can see there. He's got slightly injured. And he, unfortunately, I don't know the make of, but he was a beautiful little resin figure, beautifully detailed, lovely crisp detail on it. If I can find out, guys, I'll let you know later. And then obviously again it was a case of starting to resin them all, putting the base coats on, and then clear coating them, doing the detail paintwork, and then putting the dark dirt wash down, and then clear coating it again, and then finally putting the dull coat down. And then finally, as a little touch on the bottoms of their boots and some of their trousers, especially the great coats, which you can see here, they've got snow on the bottom there. Just went around with a little bit of the old flex paste again, as though it'd been trudging through snow. So there you go. And the actual story that encompasses in this diary is basically whereby this is the latter part of the campaign, when the Allies are advancing forward and the Germans are defeated in the Ardennes campaign through Bastogne. This guy in his Kugelwagen tried to get away. He couldn't because his left front axle snapped. So that's basically where our wheels slightly kinked. Used that as the basis of the story. Left the door open as though he was trying to run away. Unfortunately didn't get away in time. They came in, this guy caught him, so hence he's been arrested. The Sherman is actually marking out targets for the actual platoon to give covering fire. As you can see with the commander on the top here, he's basically range finding any more targets whilst they're advancing. This guy here is giving covering fire for his colleagues in their greatcoats who are waiting to advance. These guys are going into an outbuilding whilst he's giving covering fire. So there you go. And this is basically as they're coming through Bastogne. And that is the basis of my story for this vignette. So there you are. Anyway, judging by your comments, you absolutely love this dio, well, vignette, as it were. And I have to say, it is a particular favourite of mine, alongside the Tiger I did. And that is basically my entry into Steve Mottram's group built complete. So, Steve, thank you very much for letting me participate, bud. I'm sorry it's a bit late in completion. I know it's past the date and you extended it, but you know what life is like sometimes. It tends to sort of interfere in your projects. But as I say, I hope you like what you see, and hope you guys do. I absolutely love it. And it was my first Sherman in ages, and it was my first winter scene as well, so I'm very, very pleased and very ecstatic about it. Anyway, I'm going to let it swing around a couple of times so you get a proper look at it, and I'm going to shut up now. So until the next time, get kit crazy, happy modelling, and I'll speak to you soon.